Hello, welcome to Conditional Expressions Advanced, the second tutorial on conditional expressions. I'm going to show you how to do it in Office 2003. If you've got a different version of Office, you might be better off looking at a YouTube tutorial that someone else has done. Okay, conditional expressions. We'll be using the if function and equals, less than, and greater than symbols. You can also combine symbols, which you'll see later. Here we've got greater than or equal to, and you can also have less than or equal to. So how does the if work? You have if, well, equals because you're working something out, then if, then there's three things in the brackets. The first thing is the condition that you're testing for, and then there's a comma. You always split the things with commas. The next thing is what you want to see in the cell if the condition is true, then a comma again, and the next thing is what you want to see in the cell if the condition is not true. Best to look at examples really to give you an understanding. Here we go. Equals because we're working something out. If because we're asking a question. So we'll look at the cell in B6. If that is equal to the text, that's what this quotation marks are for. So look in B6. If it has the text something written in there, comma, we want our cell to have the text yes. If it is something, if it's not got that text in, we want our cell to have no in it. Second example, you'll put an equals because you're working something out, and then you'll have if the cell we're looking at is greater than or equal to 18, then we'll show the text give the wine list. Otherwise, we'll show the text offer a soft drink. So this is going to be in the age column. This is C2. If we look in the age column, if it's greater than or equal to 18, our cell will show give the wine list. Otherwise, our cell will show offer a soft drink. Another example is when it's used with dates. So A3 will be the expiry date of the product. Now is just a little trick in Excel to get the exact time and date that we're at right now. So equals because we're working something out. If Excel looks in the date cell, if it's before now, then we'll be out of date, otherwise we're okay. Here's another one. Sometimes you don't want to test if something's true, you want to test if it's not true. And that's when we have to use this little not function. So for the time being, ignore the if and the brackets. Just look at the bit that says not B3 equals Sunday. And that just says, oh, if it's not Sunday, then I'll say true. So if it's not Sunday, we'll show 7, otherwise we're going to show 10. This is called a nested function. It's because you've got that not function sat inside the first argument of the if function. You see it comes before the comma. So the if function still has a test, a comma, the thing you want if it's true, a comma, and the thing you want if it's false. But instead of the test being something simple, test are actually a function, a not function. That sounds really complicated now, but once you start using it, it won't be as difficult, I think. Okay, this is really difficult and advanced. Again, when you do it, you'll have time to try a few things out and you'll eventually get there. I'm very experienced with Excel, but even I make mistakes doing these, and often have to try it out a few times. But I'll go through these examples. If you want to get more advanced logic, you're going to use functions like and functions like or. So I'll just explain what happens here. Again, it's nested. The first bit of the if that we're testing for, this time we want to test for two things. We want to test whether something quacks and whether it has webbed feet. And then we'll say if it's a duck if that's true, and if it's not true we'll say not a duck. So again we use nested functions. Before that comma in if, we have to do and so that we can test for two things. So we've got, in this and function, you can have more than one condition. So you see here we've got, in the and function, the first condition is that A3 says quacks. The second condition is that A4 says webbed feet. And if they're both true, then and will say true. If and says true, the if function will show duck. If and says false, the if function will show not a duck. Or is very similar, it just means that you only need one or the other to be true. So in this example, if it's either Sunday or a bank holiday, then that or function will say true, and consequently the if function will show lie in the cell we've written it in. Otherwise it will show set alarm. So it'll only show lie in if A2 has either Sunday or bank holiday written in it. Last but not least, if you're already saying I can do this, and it hasn't sent you loopy, I'm saying wow, that's pretty impressive. Chances are you're not saying I can do this yet, and it probably has sent you loopy. If so, you're not alone. This is difficult. But looking at some examples is probably the best approach. So let's do that now. Okay, the Smiths want to buy a house. They all have different priorities, so they put the houses they find in a spreadsheet. I'll show you that now. Here's their spreadsheet. They've written down the area of the house. They've written down the type of the house, how many bedrooms it's got, how big the garden is, how much it costs. Now, Mrs. Smith wants more than 15 metres squared of garden. So let's make a column for Mrs. Smith. So, we want it to work something out, equals. Now, if this garden area is more than 15 metres squared, so that's our logical test. Then we're going to have a comma, value if true. If that's true, we'll say maybe for the house. Next is a comma, you see. If it's false, we'll put no because she's not interested in the house. So I'm thinking, are we expecting maybe or no? I'm expecting maybe because that's more than 15 metres squared. Okay, let's copy that down. So the only ones that she's not interested in are less than 15. Just check that. Yeah, brilliant. So that's just a simple if function. The kids want 3 or more bedrooms so they don't have to share. Just make that bold. So again, we use the if function. Equals to work something out. I'll show it the other way this time, selecting if from the list. Now we're looking at bedrooms, so if C2 is more than or equal to 3, then it'll be a maybe from the kids. Otherwise, they're not interested. Next example, Mr. Smith doesn't want a bungalow. I forgot something there. What did I forget? Forgot the equals to tell I'm working something out. So Mr. Smith, if this, now you could say if this is semi-detached or detached or, but it's quicker to say if it's not bungalow. So we're using a nested function here. This function, not bungalow, is our logical test. It's not a bungalow. Maybe. Otherwise, no. Copy that. And there you go. Some no's for the bungalows. Finally, what can they all agree on that's below 200 grand? So here, we're looking at more than one condition. And they all need to be true. We're only interested in if everyone is interested. Mrs. Smith and the kids and Mr. Smith. And it's lower than 200 grand. So when you've got lots of conditions, you put them inside the AND function. So what I'm going to do is write the AND function first. So this, and I've forgotten the equals. This is less than 200 grand. This is maybe and I'm going to be lazy here and just copy and paste that. And obviously I just need to change that so it looks at a different column each time. Hit enter. So that's what the AND comes up with. Just says false and true. We want it really to say maybe or no. So that's why we're going to put this AND function inside an if. So I'm going to cut that. and then we'll put it in later. Maybe. Oops. If not, then no. So we just need to pop in that logical test, which was the AND function. So let's just paste that in there. Enter. So these should be maybe, these should be no. Yep. Copy that down. And that's how you do very complicated conditional expressions. And that is as difficult as a level 2 functional skills assessment is ever going to get.